You're listening to BYU-Idaho Radio. I'm Nathan Lenahan, and I'm here in the green room of the BYU-Idaho Center with Elder Bruce C. Hafen and Sister Marie Hafen. First off, I just want to thank you guys so much for being here and for coming to meet with me today.
We're glad to be here.
So before we get talking about your devotional, I just want to ask, what is it like to be back here at BYU-Idaho? Because for people who has seen it as much as you have seen it grow and change, what's it like to be back?
Well, just look at this building, for example. That is truly amazing.
Yeah, when we were here, I think we had about 5,000 or 6,000 students. We thought that was huge, and it was. It was one of the largest junior colleges in the country. And so to come back now and see all the growth is, well, it's not just the growth, it's the 4-year status.
At that time, when there was a devotional, the Man-Wearing Center, not the Man-Wearing Center.
Yeah, was
Yeah.
the heart.
The Heart. The Heart Auditorium was filled, and students on chairs all the way across the basketball court. But we thought that was terrific when they would come for that.
Yeah, it's a lot different filling out the whole BYU-I Center.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I thought the eye center was a place to go get an eye exam.
Yeah.
Well, how did it start?
And so your
It seems
devotional
like
is
it
titled
kind of-
Severe Mercy, Love
Well,
and Sacrifice.
It was Elder Holland. You know, that's how it starts. And you know from what you've read in it that Elder Holland and I were very close childhood friends, and we stayed very close friends all the way, all through our lives, really. And we had such love and respect for him and for Pat. And because we just lost him, we thought this is the time to talk to him about the kids up here who may not have known him personally. I'm sure they've heard him.
And loved him.
But we thought he was just such an extraordinary person. And I remembered that experience that we talk about in the talk about when he was 19. He had just lost the student body election. I was his campaign manager, and he lost, which we've laughed about ever since, because the year before, I lost for student body president, and he was my campaign manager. So we felt that we were equally incompetent. And as I've described that, if you've got it, when I thought about all of the experiences we've had together, that was the one that really stood out to me. I thought that's the one that I'd really like the students here to know about, because it was very real, and it was very poignant, because he was in love and he wanted to get married, and it was Pat, and she was such a fine girl, and he had thought that he would win the election, and that if he did, he'd stay and marry Pat and live happily ever after. And then he lost. So I, as his campaign manager, unwittingly put him in this fix where he lost. And the bishop said, well, let's talk about your mission. And he didn't want to go on that mission. He didn't want to lose her. And I think there are people here who understand that. She was really choice. Her dad was our bishop. I don't say that in the talk, I guess. So we had known, everybody in St. George knew everybody in those days. The population was about 5,000, and I didn't know what he was going to do. I've described in the talk the anguish he was feeling, and one little scene that I describe in the talk is it was raining in St. George, which is very unusual, and it was late at night, and I just saw the raindrops coming down the window of the car, and they mirrored some of the teardrops that came down his cheeks. It was a very honest friend-to-friend conversation, and he said, "Tell me I can stay home." I said, "I can't tell you I can't tell you what to do. You've got to decide that." And he said, "But I don't want to go." I said, "Well, okay." He said, but I do want to go. I know I should." And he talked about what Pat had said, and I think he could tell that she thought he ought to go, but he would not ask of her a commitment that she would be here. And he just respected her so much. He thought, if she wants to make a commitment, she'll tell me. He wasn't going to ask her for one. And she didn't ever give him one. The closest she ever came, I think, is in the talk where she says, "And maybe I'll be here."
Right.
You can see why that would make you cry. Maybe.
Yeah. And then the talk kind of unfolded after that. I mean, there were some natural, and one of them was severe mercy. Mm-hmm. I mean, what was it that helped Elder Holland become the man that he...
Well, that turns out to be the point of the talk, is that here was a young man who truly, I mean, you have to be a young man to understand this, and you're a young man.
Oh, young women understand.
He kind of laid everything on the altar because he was willing to take the risk that she would not be here.
Yeah, willing to sacrifice, I think that was...
And it was a sacrifice. And so we ended up talking about sacrifice as the theme, because I guess the reason we felt that way is because we worry about, do the people in the church today, especially the younger people, do they understand? Some of them do. Do they understand what it means to sacrifice all that you have for the kingdom, for the church? And some of them do. They say, "Oh yeah, I fast. I don't have any popsicles." No. And we just think that principle with the stories that Marie tells are really wonderful stories. Why don't you talk about...
Well, it's just the severe mercy comes out of a story of a young girl, she's only 9, with the Willie Handcart Company, and wanting a ride, and then a wagon master finally, when they are rescued. And the fact that she wanted to ride and she was willing to walk, hoping that someone would ask her if she wanted to ride in a wagon master.
How old was she?
She was only 9. Yeah, she was only 9. And she's remembering this story from quite a bit of time later. But she said that wagon master, and that becomes a symbol because he is the master who reaches out. But that doesn't mean that he's just going to lift her up into the wagon and ride. He grabbed her hand and she held on, and he made her run. And she said, "I ran."
How did he make her run?
That. Say that again.
How did he make her run?
Well, he grabbed her hand, and he was holding on to her hand, and they ran. She ran.
He made a noise.
Oh yeah, he did. To his horses to get them to move faster, and that made her run.
Yeah, that really is.
And she knew, knew that was what had saved her life. And that's what we're calling severe mercy. It's not tender mercy. It's he's going to make you run.
Yeah, because sacrificing those things, they're definitely hard. And I don't think it was easy for the wagon master to drag her along like that, to know that he was pushing her as much as he was. And it definitely wasn't easy for her to run, but it was something that was necessary for both of them.
Right. Did he save her life? Yes. Did she save her life? Yes. And I like this, he had the courage to go on the rescue mission to start with. And that's also symbolic of the Savior being willing to go on that rescue mission to rescue us. Well, how is he going to do that? Tender mercies all along the way? I don't think so.
Yeah.
There are going to be some things where he makes us run and sacrifice because he knows what we'll become in that process.
Of course. Like you said, it's definitely something we can look at in our own lives where Lord's going to pull us along, and he's going to push us to our absolute limits where we really think we can't take it anymore, but he knows what we can handle, and he will push us past that.
And we're finding out, right? We're finding out what we can handle.
Mm-hmm. And it just makes me think about how the Lord really does know the best through everything. That's why he puts us through our trials and why he makes us want to sacrifice things for him.
Well, does he put us through trials? And I want to say, yes, sometimes he does. Sometimes it's natural consequences of our choices that might throw us into some things, or maybe just adversity. But I think you look at Mosiah 3:19, and it's the Father will inflict, the verb is inflict, things on his children. So he's giving us opportunities and will help us move along.
Yeah. And what would just be the number one thing you hope people take away from your devotional?
What would you say?
I think a deeper understanding of sacrifice and its relationship to faith. We live in a world where people want things to be easy. You know, they're told, hey, we're going to make it easy for you. And sacrifice by its nature is not always easy. In fact, I'm sure that word would mean something really difficult. And people don't want to hear that. So we were trying to find a way to talk about it in ways that would reach their hearts and make them more willing to sacrifice and not expect. Let's see, Elder Holland had a term for a talk that he gave once called the inconvenient Messiah. Interesting words. What the Lord wants of us is not always very convenient. And I think that's most of us grow up in a world where we're taught by TV and everything else that it ought to be convenient for you. Watch all the commercials on TV, and then they want to make it convenient for you, and it kind of undermines the willingness of people to explore the depths of inconvenience.
So I think just to answer your question too, maybe add just a little bit that we would hope as a result that they not only would increase understanding, we hope that's there, we hope it's willingness to sacrifice, but also maybe a desire, knowing that the hard things are things that will help them become better than they are and more like him. If they understand, if they're willing, and if they desire to move ahead in their lives, that's what we would hope. And a closer relationship to him, because he will be in it with